What's good, everyone? Happy New Year, and welcome to a new edition of Politicin with Hawk, episode 6. Joining me today is a good friend of mine. She's the on air personality, sports update anchor for the Mike Missinelli Show, which can be heard Monday through Fridays from 2 to 6 on 97.5 The Fanatic. She also has her own podcast where she co hosts with Nicole Mahalik, titled The Lipstick League. Joining me today is the lovely Natalie Egenolf. Natalie, how are you doing today, ma'am?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. This is so exciting. I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome.
As I sip my tea.
Oh,
Sorry, this is
sure.
not this is
It,
not like an ad or anything. I'm not sponsored by Channel 6.
it's
I just
okay.
realized that this was what was on here.
It's okay because I always encourage anyone to have their favorite beverage of choice because
Oh, perfect. Okay.
I always have my mug with me, which is not an ad like you say, sponsored by Yeti. It's like no.
Yeah. But sometimes if you say it, then you like speak it into existence. So it's coming, that Yeti sponsorship, I'm sure of it.
I honestly like one of the goals I do have subconsciously because like when it comes to clothes, I always wear Express. So if you ever look at my previous episodes, every item that I'm wearing is actually by Express. So Express, if you're listening, call a brother. I'm here. Free marketing right here. You
Yep.
know.
Yep.
Shoot. So okay. So before we tap into to your current career endeavors,
Mhm.
let's take a trip down memory lane. Tell us
Oh boy, okay.
tell us about the moment in your life that inspired you to work in the broadcasting.
Oh, okay. So this is actually really fun. So I went to Cardinal Doherty High School. It's no longer. It was on North Second Street in like the Alany section of Philly.
Right.
And I, growing up, I always wanted to be an astronaut, which is kind of hysterical. Up until I was like 14, I think I like really thought that I was going to be an astronaut. And
Interesting.
then I like got to high school and took algebra, and I was like, I don't think this math stuff is for me. So I also in class, I wasn't like a bad kid, but I was always moving and talking and doing things. And when we would read books, I would read the chapter in like a British accent. Like I always just liked kind of like putting on a show. And
Right.
even when I was younger, like as a little girl, like I always knew I always loved live performance. Like I wanted to be a singer when I was really young, but I have no
Nice.
singing voice at all. So um, I get to Doherty and still with these plans to like join NASA at some point.
Right.
And then my junior year of high school rolled around and we had to pick electives, and the nuns at my school, they like, I would drive them insane. I'd get kicked out of class because I would just like talk and make jokes and stuff. Again, like I wasn't a bad kid.
Right. Right.
They were just like, you have so much like energy. They were like, why don't you do CDTV, which was our in-house television program at the time that did like all of our morning announcements and whatnot. So I think it's hilarious that my life has kind of come full circle because my career started as me
Be
doing the announcements for the school on TV, and now I'm like, I just do like Philadelphia announcements,
right. Right.
like
And
Philadelphia sports announcements.
right.
So I think it's hysterical. But that was really the catalyst for me. And then I loved it and I was good with it. And the program, I mean, we were a school that was like completely underfunded. All of our equipment was from like the 70s. Nobody was really investing the time and energy into it. And the priest who ran it ended up leaving. But one of my other teachers wanted to keep it going. So my senior year, I mean, it was only supposed to be a one semester class, and
Right.
me and my friends ran it for like 2 years.
Oh man.
We would just run the little television studio and stuff after Father Kearns left because one of our other teachers, Mr. Taylor, who was like a saint, he came to me in the hallway and he's like, we have to keep CDTV going. And he let us be creative with it, which was fun. So we
Nice.
would kind of turn it into these episodes. And that was where I really learned how to, I did a lot of like board hopping and directing and camera usage. And again, this equipment, this is 2005 and 6. So like,
Right.
I can't imagine even looking at that equipment now, but like
Right.
we were using stuff from like the 70s and 80s. So that's really what sparked it. Um, yeah. And, then I went to Temple for communications, started as broadcast journalism, but it just seemed like so foreign for me. I'm born and raised Northeast Philly. my dad's an electrician. My mom was a bartender growing up. So I was like, I don't know how people actually get these jobs. But yeah, it ended up working out. So
Right.
it's crazy.
Awesome, awesome. So while you were tapping into the communication broadcasting side, who were some of your role models, influencers in the industry, past or present?
So what's funny is like I I knew I wanted to do sports, but my role models, I think, in the entertainment business, and I guess as far as performance wise, are Tina Fey
Hmm.
and Lucille Ball. I think that, just really incredibly intelligent and funny women who kind of led the way for other women. They're in comedy and television and
Definitely.
production and stuff like that. But I try and use them, currently when I'm performing and we're on the air and I kind of lead into their personas a little bit because they're not
Right.
afraid to it's self-deprecate or be who they are. So they're, I guess, currently my role models, but I just had a lot of people who really helped me, in once I got my foot into radio, helped me have the confidence to keep going because it's a tough business. I mean, just from being, Ty's cousin and everything that he went through, it's just like such a tough business. So there were a lot of people, I think, who guided me along the way that I like knew personally as well.
Gotcha. Definitely, yeah. And piggybacking off of what we spoke about in his interview, how he said that just from being on a minority side, it was pretty tough for him. As far as getting leverage in the industry, and I give him I give him his flowers every time. Like whenever it comes to evolving in this industry. Like I told him straight up. I said, listen, like you inspire me to be in this business, and hopefully.
Yeah, he's amazing. And it's so funny? I feel like when he and I started working together, I'm the only woman at the station, and he's the only at the time was like one of the only black guys at the station. Devon's there now, but
Right.
didn't really cross paths back in the day. So I feel like everyone's like, you and Ty seem to have such a good relationship, and I'm like, I feel like we both kind of recognize that we were like the outliers when it comes to when you look around the office, right?
Right.
So that's how I think he and I kind of like bonded, because he was like, at the time, he's like, I'm the only black dude. And I was like, well, I'm the only girl. And
Right.
we just like got each other, like so early on, like we just like had this vibe. I tell people, I'm like, he's my brother, like from another, like never really understood the saying until I met him. But yeah, like he's been awesome. And I just said in the Lipstick League podcast last week, at one point when I first started at the Fanatic, I was just having some like issues, like I started off really well, and I was just having some issues like articulating some stuff, and I was getting the mental yips and like freezing. It was bad.
Right.
And Ty was working with me, and we were both only part time. This was way before the Mike Missinelli show, and he's like, you just gotta don't think about it and keep going. He's like,
Right.
just push through, like because the more you think about your mistake, the more you're gonna mess up. So
Mhm.
I'm like, he's not only one of my best friends, but he also like saved my career there. Just
Nice.
because I would be working with him, he's like, you got to shake it off.
Right.
Like kind of coached me. So he's been amazing.
A-
To work with.
Absolutely. Shout out to Todd Johnson, aka Anthony to the family. If you know, you know.
Yes, I
Okay.
know. At his birthday party last year, everyone was Anthony. I'm like,
Like who?
oh,
And real quick before I go to the next topic, it's crazy
yeah,
because like we're in this pandemic world. That was like the last time like I really had a been around like a party.
that was
Like
it.
yeah,
That was
like
it.
yeah,
I was
like
like, Ty turned 40 and the world ended. Like,
yeah, it was like that. Like that was it. But it was cool because you were there, Mike was there. Like
oh,
all amongst the family. Like it was a great time, man. Great
that was,
time.
I mean, that was a great night, except for
Yeah.
when I bought this stupid spiked sculpture in my pocket.
We talk about that on a later episode. we go there.
Okay.
No, we good. We good. Okay, so from Doherty, so From Doherty, you then enrolled at Temple University for
Mhm.
communications and graduated in 2011. Um,
Yeah.
During and after your tenure at Temple, you managed to gain a host of experience by working for such companies like CBS, the Comcast Network, Comcast Sportsnet, SiriusXM, ESPN, ABC, and there was a host of other markets you were working into. I said, man, I could go on and on with you, but I don't. I said,
Yeah, my
you've
resume
done
is like
you've done
ridiculous.
you've done so much. Tell
Yeah.
tell us, Nat, about your journey on working in these markets as well as the challenges experiencing while working in this field.
Yeah, so I mean, I got my foot into radio as the receptionist at Sports Radio WIP, our competitor, and CBS Radio as a whole. So I was 19 years old. They hired me. I was in college, and I would sit at the front desk. It was like a cake job,
Right.
and I really lucked out getting it. But that was really what got my foot in the door for radio. Initially, I was hired to do promotions and stuff, so I did do some of that prior, but that like wasn't any sort of like in-office experience. They would just call me and say, like, so when you go to a concert and there's all those tents outside,
Right.
and they have like it's people working the tents handing out like flyers and stuff, like
Like a
that was
street
actually,
team in
yeah,
a way.
street team. That
Yeah.
was like my first job in radio. Yeah, and then I became the receptionist. I guess this was fall of 2008. Yeah, December 2008. I was hired by WISP, became the receptionist. I think it was February 2009, and that was really like how I got my foot in the door and built relationships with people. And I was still going to school, so it was like the sweetest job in the world. I was the morning receptionist. I'd get there, I'd do my homework at the desk,
Right.
and it was cool because like I was at WIP, and at that time there was no alternative station, so WIP was like the
That's
premier sports radio station. And that was also when radio really had like a hold on the city.
right.
And yeah, like I remember like Bernard Hopkins came in, like I got to meet so many cool people because I would be the one sitting at the door greeting them.
Right. Nice.
So from there I just kind of everybody knew what I wanted to do. Everybody knew that I wanted to be on air. And again, I just formed really good relationships with people. And I was also a really, really, really hard worker. Like I never said no to anything. I mean, I've done some pretty insane jobs just to build my resume. So I worked for NBC Sports Regional for a minute, and that job was like totally unglamorous. It sounds amazing, and I got to go to all these other cities and
Right.
see football stadiums, which I just thought was cool. But yeah, I would be like running production staff Diet Cokes and then tying up wires under trailers in the freezing rain. And there was just so many different, I guess, gigs that I did and jobs that I did just to build the resume. Phillies Nation TV was something that, well, yeah, 2008, Phillies had just won the World Series. They
Right.
were like the hottest team. That was something I did early on with my friends, Pat Allen and Corey Seidman, who were also trying to break into the business at the time. So we were just this teeny little one camera setup at yards, and then we couldn't film at yards, so we were just outside of Citizens Bank Park with one camera, kind of doing Phillies. It was like such simpler times, and a lot of the jobs were very low paying, and I did a lot of work for free. In 2011, I landed my segment with Angelo Cataldi in the morning show. That was really the catalyst that I think kind of built my radio personality.
Right.
And but again, that was all for free. So I started August 2011 on his show, and I worked full time for the University of Pennsylvania for 4 years,
Okay.
while still doing all the stuff with the morning show. And then it started to kind of build, like, I guess because I was showing up every single week, and then it turned into me being on the air 2 times a week. And then I was starting to travel with the morning show, and I really just kind of became a part of them, but there was no role for me. So it was when the Fanatic picked me up. But again, like I'm probably leaving a lot of stuff out, but that was, I could have easily stopped because I had a good job at Penn.
Right. And
amazing benefits.
what was your role
Great pay.
at Penn? Yeah, if you don't mind me
I was
asking.
the administrative coordinator for the director of the Cancer Center, the financial director of the Cancer Center.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, and he's this amazing guy, Bob Wynn. I actually still keep in touch with him. And, he hired me, and I had no experience outside of working at a radio station and pizza shops.
Right.
It was crazy. Um, and he hired me, and I was like, look, like, I want to be in broadcasting. Like, I want to be on the radio or TV. And I was 22 years old. And he was like, he's like, okay, you're fine. But no, he was amazing and let me use my free time, let me use my days off to go work in radio because I still had my foot in the door at WIP. Prior to that, I did a stint in radio sales once I graduated college, and I was like, this is hell on earth. I cannot do this. And yeah, my heart just wasn't in it. I had such a passion again for the performance and for being on the air and just, I would tell my mom that when I would get on the air and, then be done, I would be like, I feel like I'm like high or something. It just feels,
you're rejuvenated.
I just feel so good. Yeah, you just feel so good doing it. And I feel so blessed that like I found my passion so early on, because there's so many people who look for that their entire life. But, my whole mentality was I got nothing else going on. Like, because people are like, oh, wow, you work so hard. I'm like, well, what else am I going to do?
Right. There's still something empty there where it's like I haven't, accomplished, what my true love was for.
Well, and I was like, I got nothing better to do, like in my free time. Like, I might as well just keep working and see where it goes. And, Keith Jones, the hockey analyst, he was on the WIP morning show. I think he's still there. I remember the one time I was complaining to him. I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get there. And I'm so broke and all this stuff. And he's like, just got to keep showing up, kid. You'll get there eventually. And people stop showing up, and that's true. And again, it took me 4 years of just doing free stuff in the morning to just kind of build that brand. When I think back on it now, I'm like, it's probably because you were like 15 when you were doing it. I'm like, I can't imagine having that energy now.
No,
but
you're
I was in my 20s, and I was like spring chicken, like raring to go and hungry. And it was amazing. Yeah. It was tough, but I stuck it out and it worked.
No, awesome. Because like I share the same sentiment that you have, like when it comes to coming up, because for me, like right out of high school, like I immediately started working. But in the back of my mind, like I just knew that that wasn't my one all be all. So like I've always had aspirations, and when it came to like entertainment, media, and stuff, but I never really took that leap of faith to do it. So while still working, I started taking acting classes, and from there, start putting your resume out there for roles and stuff. So got, did a ton of background work. Didn't really get like much, like a primary role, with the exception of a short film that a buddy of mine named Justin Lancaster. Shout out to him, because he gave me like that opportunity, for a lead role. And from there, like that's when like the bug actually hit. But sometimes I often get on myself because I didn't really take it as far as I should have at the time. But at the time, I felt like it was almost like a lesson learned, and a learning curve for me to learn where I am today. Because now,
it's hard. It's really hard. And I mean, unless you can afford to work for free for like 65 years. And that's what I tell people, who want to get into the business. I'm like, be prepared to be like poor for a minute. If this is what you want to be like your sole, thing that you do, or like, that's why they say like actors and everything, like they have like all these different jobs and stuff. It's tough. It's tough. And, I feel like when you're young, you're just like, you don't realize until like you're actually in something.
Right, exactly. And for me now, it's like, okay, now I understand why I had the tenure with the company that I did, because
Yeah.
it allowed me a nest. But I know at some point, like, that nest can run dry. So it's like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? You got to continue to work, keep working, to,
Yeah. Gotta eat.
until you get to that level. Yeah, look, like, brother be hungry sometimes. It's like,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
so, but yeah,
Yeah.
I totally get it, like, what I mean, coming from where you came from, and what I mean, and where you are now, like, it's great to hear that story, and I hope, I really do hope, to the viewers that watch this, that they understand the grind, and that it's okay to work for free. Like, that's sometimes
Well,
that's your start.
and it's funny too because there's so many haters on the internet and they're like, why does she have her job, all this stuff, like, and I'm like, I have a website, you can go look at it, look at
Right,
my resume. If you want to stand in a parking lot and hand out flyers outside of a Flyers game for free
right.
and then end up in this position 10 years later, like, then you can come talk to me about it. But like,
Hmm.
like,
Well,
it's not this was people, like, I think people look at me and Ty in particular and they think that we kind of just came out of nowhere and that we were both like overnight like successes,
right,
because
right.
everybody also thinks that we're both like in our 20s, um which is funny. But Ty 20 years, like
Yeah,
putting in that time. And yeah, it's not something that happens overnight. A lot of it's time and place, and a lot of it's networking and making connections. But like, I didn't know, I never thought, I didn't know where I would end up. I was just like, I'm just going to keep going and just see where I land. And then I landed here, and it's been more than I could have ever imagined, honestly.
yeah, because, like, just looking back and looking at your resume, I'm like, man, when did you have time to do this?
I,
Like,
I don't know.
you've done a lot, and to anyone that's questioning, check out
Right.
Natalie's website. Look at her resume. She's put in the work, much work. I'm pretty sure majority of the listeners who listen to the show may not even do. So, like,
Yeah.
you've earned your stamp, your flowers, to where you are right now. So,
Yeah.
much respect and much credit to you, Nat,
Oh,
for
thank you.
sure, definitely. So, switching gears, what keeps you grounded, motivated, while working in radio?
Um, hmm, Keeps me motivated. I mean, the show itself, I think, is what really is my motivating factor, because I know that I'm biased because I'm on it
Right.
and I'm a part of it. But I just think that the show is so good, like the Mike Missinelli show.
Right.
I love it. I love doing it. I love being a part of it. I love working with Mike and Tyrone. That keeps me motivated because once we really found our flow, I think, together, it just kind of turned into something on its own. And also, you know, especially over the last year, we've gotten a lot of emails and messages from people who have said that, like, this was their saving grace during the
Right.
last year, because we're the only like live content that's not like newsy, if that makes sense. And I tell people, I'm like, we do like 4 hours of improv a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
It's
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 like,
not just sports. Like, you take turns at, like, diving into pop culture.
yeah, and we don't know where the show's gonna go, but like,
Right.
that's what I love so much about it, is that um it just, I love doing the show. That's what keeps me motivated and in it, just because it's so fun. And again, I also like, now, as you grow and you get older, I like having the ability to kind of like talk about things to like make the world better. If that's
Right.
like cheese, in
Right.
a way, like that's pretty good too. But what keeps me grounded, I don't know. I'm just like not, and I've always been grounded. I wish I could be like one of those people who's not grounded, but like, that's just not who I am. I think it's my upbringing. I just, I like to be real. I like to keep it real. I don't understand people who kind of like operate outside of that wavelength, you
Right.
know? So
Right.
like, I also think it's just Philly too. Like, can never not be real, even if I like wanted to try.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You,
Like it's
you
kind of like my Philly upbringing.
right. You almost got to keep your guard at times too, because it's like
Oh yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean. It's almost like that expect the unexpected. You know what I mean? No matter what, by any
Yeah.
means. you
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
definitely. So during your downtime, what are some things you enjoy to disconnect from your career?
So I listen, well, it's funny, I listen to like podcasts. I do watch some shows. I watch like Bridgerton and stuff like that. I just got into
Right.
TV kind of not
Okay.
long ago. I always watch like I Love Lucy. Conan O'Brien's my favorite, so I listen to his podcast a lot.
Nice.
Um, do a lot of reading. Yeah, I'm just kind of like a big nerd.
Oh no, that's cool. Like, look, tapping into things. I haven't tapped into that show you just said. Was it Bridgerton? You said?
Oh
Yeah,
boy.
I have to tap into that. I've actually just started watching Your Honor, and I know Mike. You know, I
Oh,
actually
he was so all about it, and then he's just like, I don't like
yeah.
it anymore. And I was like, okay. Bridgerton, you got to be patient with it. My friend,
Okay.
I saw my friend Wes tweeted last night. He was like, "Is this just British chicks gossiping? Like, what am I watching?" I actually should. I forgot to respond. I like saw it, and I was like, I want to say something.
Right.
Um, I want to be like, just stick around because it gets like steamy and interesting. It's fun. It's funny. It's like it's mindless, which is nice. You
right.
know?
It sounds like it has one of those like 3 minute endings where it's like always a cliffhanger at the end, like it leave you on the edge, like oh,
Yeah,
tune in
yeah, a
next
little bit.
time.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's definitely like a period piece and takes place in the 1800s or something like that. But
right.
it's good. It's funny, and the Duke of Hastings is like the hottest guy I've ever seen in my life.
Oh
So
gosh.
he came on the screen, and I was just like,
Say
I'm like, where did this guy come from?
that.
So yeah, that's what I watched recently. Oh, I
Nice.
just started this other one too called Dairy Girls.
I never heard of that.
It's actually it's so it takes place in Derry, Ireland, and it's this group of teenagers who like just get themselves into trouble, but it takes place kind of like during the Catholic and Protestant war or whatever, like they're having issues.
Right.
Being, I'm Irish and I like love being Irish. So I'm like,
Right.
ooh, look, Irish people. But no, it's really funny. I recommend it to anybody, even if you're not Irish. It got like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes,
Oh
critic
wow.
and audience. Yeah, which is rare. So
Yeah.
even if you're not Irish, I mean, you might need subtitles because I like can't hear from wearing the headphones all day. So I
Right.
need subtitles because their accents can be a little much. But yeah,
You know, it's funny you talk about subtitles. Like I find myself lately where no matter what I'm putting on, like I'm putting on the caption, like
it
regardless. Like I
makes it so much easier. Well,
yeah.
especially like I said, I not that I'm hard of hearing, but I can tell that like my hearing isn't as sharp
Right.
because people say stuff and I'm always like, what? But I need, and I think it is from wearing the headphones all the time. And somebody actually said that they heard me, Mike, and Ty talking like off the air and that we were all screaming at each other. And I was like, yeah, because we're all we're all like deaf and like wearing headphones all day.
Right.
Yeah. No, the subtitles are like incredibly helpful.
Oh yeah, definitely a plus. so, so again, currently you are the sports update anchor and on-air personality for the afternoon drive Mike Missinelli show, which is simulcast on 97.5 the Phonetic FM Philadelphia and NBC Sports Philadelphia. Tell us about how the opportunity to work on this show came about.
Oh, so Fanatic hired me as a part-time sports update anchor in 2016, the fall of 2016. So I left my job at Penn, which was terrifying because I was leaving this cushy full-time job
Right.
with incredible benefits for a part-time radio job,
Right.
which is so scary. Um, and I just, yeah, I was going in, I was doing updates. That was when I was doing a lot of freelance work. So that was the year I landed the position with Sirius XM, which was so cool because I covered the Eagles during the Super Bowl run. Like
Right.
it just, it's really funny. So a friend of a friend knew somebody who worked for Sirius in New York. and was like, I'll, introduce you to Alex. Maybe they're looking for somebody here. They ended up looking for like their in-game update person for the Eagles in Philadelphia for NFL radio.
Nice.
So I got that job. And I mean, the truth is I was doing it because I needed money. Like I needed another job. Like
Right.
my one part-time job wasn't enough, and I had to pay rent.
Right. Right.
Dude, I took this job and it ended up just being like it was unbelievable. Like they won the Super Bowl that year, like I'm like the one year, like the first year I get this like locker room access interview
You was the
covering.
charm that.
I swear to God, I tell people that all the time. I'm like, I think it's me. Because I was there every home game. No, it was amazing. So that was all of 2017. I think I was hosting Quizzos. Like I was just doing whatever I could to like make a buck.
Right.
And then the fall of 2017, they had told me that they were restructuring the Mike Missinelli show. Well, I had a meeting, and my background was morning show, so I always thought that if I was ever put on a show, it would be a morning show because that's technically what my training's in,
Right.
is that like morning zoo format of radio. So, they said, "Do you think?" I said, "I'd love to be on a show full time. Like that's why I'm here." And they said, "Where do you think you'd fit?" And I was like, "Oh, probably like on a morning show." Well, and I said that because Mike is just this like supreme radio being.
Right.
And I thought I didn't know if I would be good enough or if I was seen as good enough to be on his show. And then Mike came to me, he's like, "Oh, Nat, like they want to put you on the show." And I was like, "Yeah, I would be honored. I would be so honored to be a part of it." And that's how I landed, on Mike's show. And January of 2018, right before the Eagles won the Super Bowl,
Right.
was when Tyrone and I were both put on there full time. So yeah, it was wild. And again, like when I took the job at the Fanatic, it was just another way for me. Like I thought I had another like couple years of time to put in doing part-time updates and just to kind of keep it going. And then again, like it is hard work, but it's also time and place too. And being like, I happened to be there when they were restructuring the show, and yeah, it was good. It was a blessing, like an absolute blessing.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. And little nugget, I remember when Ty, he told me when they were coming back and then they were going to bring you on and stuff. And this was actually that, I believe this was around that Christmas of 2017.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we were talking, and he he shared the news to me. I couldn't tell nobody. It was
Yeah,
like, he said,
no,
yo,
yeah.
like, yo, like, hey, so I'm like, I'm coming back. I was like, for real? Because like I told him in the last interview, I was like, man, when you left the first time, I was crushed, man. I was like, yo.
I was crushed. And like I said, he and I, again, I feel like we just had this like instinctual, like he was like my ally,
Yeah.
without us even talking about it. Like, so him leaving, I was like, no, like I'm losing like a person who's in my corner.
Right.
And during 2017, I also I did like a recorded show for 610 AM Sports, um, which was fun, which also kind of like gave me some reps too. And like Ty would come on there. He like showed me how to do like a lot of editing and stuff. Yeah, no, when he left, I was like crushed. So then when we were discussing who they were going to bring in for as the full-time producer, I wasn't privy to the information.
Right.
But I remember like them mentioning Ty, and I called him and I was like, please, like, that if we do this,
Right.
that if you and I do this, like, it'll be good.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like we just knew that we were like a little bit more talented than people would give us the chance to showcase, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And
Right.
for me, to know you, to know Ty, and even know Mike on a
Oh
personal
yeah.
level, like through ups and downs, like y'all are all a family, and it's great, you know what I mean? Because like when we're all together, it's all
Yeah.
love, no matter what.
Part of the Mike Missinelli family
Right.
too.
Yeah. Like it's crazy because like I be texting Ty on the side, and I'm like, yo, man. I say y'all must be talking about something because I'm getting text messages from people like, "Yo, they mentioning you on the radio." I'm like, "Oh boy, what's going on?" And you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I'll tap in, but for the most part, I try to tap in as much as I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, but Mike, Mike, wild guy. I love him. You know what I
He's
mean?
he's the best. You know what's so funny? I think what's funny about all three of us is um people are always like, "Oh, like what's Mike like?" And I guess because of how he comes off on the radio and the stuff he's gotten into over the years and whatnot. I'm like, he's actually just a really nice person, and he actually is like super chill and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
like just wants to like listen to his music and golf and like vibe out and like
Mm-hmm.
make pasta. Like he has just been so cool to me, like over this time. And I think everybody thinks that like Mike and Tyrone are just at the level that they're at on the show like all the time, and I'm like, that couldn't be further from the truth. Like
Right. Right.
the three of us are all just kind of like super chill people off the air,
Yeah. Like
which is why I think that we're maybe like so insane on the air.
no, but that's what makes it great because
Yeah.
y'all create content on a daily basis, and you know how to turn it on and you know how to turn it off.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's what makes it so great. Yeah. So, but kind of switching topics. We recently witnessed history as Kamala Harris was elected to serve as Vice President of the United States. Tell us, what does the election of the nation's first woman to the second highest office in the free world mean to you?
Oh my God. I just got the chills because like when you say it and I actually think about it, it like makes me really emotional. And again, I'm not comparing like Kamala Harris to me, but
No, no,
being, like representation is everything, right? And
yes,
seeing like a woman reach those ranks and get to that space is just, it's so important for the future of American women because, again, like how I said, there are people who might not have given Tyrone and I a chance to showcase our talents.
right,
Like that's, I think, what women have been dealing with in this country forever. Like women and Black people and Asian people and everybody, minorities.
right,
It's, there's a certain bridge that you have to get over that it's like made of barbed wire, right? Because it's like you have the talent, you have the ability, you have the resume, like you have all the qualifiers that should make you, experience for the position, but
right,
it's always up to the decision maker, right? So the decision maker always feels more comfortable with what they know. So historically having, it's been all white dudes who have been vice president, and then you get a Black president, and then it's like a fight, and then Trump comes along. That a shit show that was. And then
oh yeah,
I I can't. That's all. I'm like, it was just a shit show. But
right,
I've been telling people, I feel like we had to go through that to get to Kamala because it just like created such this like negative space, and it was just like the perfect candidate for the role. And
right,
the way that like went through her career, and I've said this before, like you think you know where you're going to end up, right? Like I don't know if when she set out to be in law enforcement that she figured out that she was going to end up as vice president of the United States, right?
right,
But like that was her chosen path, and
or
it
even
had
just a Senate seat,
right,
yeah, like
right, and like for like she had like it took all that time, and it took those 4 years of Donald Trump to lead to her, if that makes sense.
right,
And it's so important, and because it really does give women all over the world hope that if they want to achieve something, like whatever it is, the opportunity is there. Because, and it's funny, you also need people to encourage you. Like my dad would always be like, Natalie, you could be the next Rhea Hughes, because he was obsessed with sports radio. That's how I got into it.
right,
But it's like, because she's the only other one, who's been in sports radio in Philadelphia for so long. So just by her being there created that space for me
Right.
to kind of get there. And I hope that my role now will create space for other women who want to come on board and, do sports radio. Again, that's up to the people who do the hiring. But I'm hoping that, with Kamala being in there, it'll just break down these barriers and kind of remove the bias that I think a lot of decision makers have when it comes to hiring, if that makes sense. Sorry, that's a really long-winded answer.
No. It makes perfect sense, and I think to the women, even to the young women who watches sports nowadays, and they pick up on like the Mike Missinelli show, and not only yourself, but like you said, the Rhea Hughes, or even like the sports anchors of our city, like
Yeah.
Jamie Apodi, Kristen Rogers, or even
Yeah.
like a D Lynam, like
Yeah.
that gives them that hope, that faith, that one day they can also get there, even if it's not just sports, just working in the world of broadcasting itself. I think you yourself are a pioneer of the city, and you're
Thank
again,
you.
going back to your track record, like it shows what you've accomplished to get to where you are right now.
Thank
So,
you.
and this actually kind of follow into my next question to you is, as a female voice of both Philly sports itself, and pop culture, how will you prefer your legacy to be left once completed?
Oh my God. Oh, that's deep. God. Um,
Like the Bill Brian Gumble
yeah.
of the show. Yeah, that's my
I'm like, I
goal.
haven't even finished my tea yet on my legacy. Oh God, I've never thought about that before. It's funny now because again, as being like the only woman, whatever, when I set out to do this, it's not because I set out to be the only woman, right? Like I set
Right,
out because I wanted to do something that I liked. And God's honest truth, my whole thing with all of this was like, I just want to have a job that I like,
right.
like I'm actually kind of a simple person. I'm like, I just want to like have a job that I like, kick it, like cook good food at the end of the day. Like
Yeah,
that's about
yeah.
it. But no, I think I hope that my legacy is just that you can make it in a business. And I don't even feel like I've remotely made it, but that you can make it in the business if you really just like stick to who you are and be yourself. Because I'm also like a nice person,
Right.
and I feel like there's kind of this perception that like you have to be an asshole to get ahead in this business, and maybe that's true. I don't know. I mean, I've been like cut out of roles and backstabbed and all that stuff too, but
Right.
that never changed my approach to things. And my hope is that just my legacy is that like I was just a nice person who did a good job and hopefully helped other women get to where they want to go just by showcasing that you could be yourself as a woman. And I'm like super girly. I love the makeup, the dresses, heels,
Right.
like the whole nine. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you don't like I don't you don't have to fit a certain mold to do whatever it is that you want to do. Like that's what I hope the takeaway is too
Right.
from from me. I hope that yeah, if someone's like, "Oh, Natalie was, so nice and she would dress up and was kind of silly and, was very clumsy, but she was great at being, she was great at sports talk radio," like because
Right.
when you think of the the traits of like a sports talk radio personality, it's not really what my personality is,
Right.
right? Because I'm like, guys, let's all be nice. But no, I have my passionate opinions, and I call it like I see it, like Howie Roseman.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Like I have some venom, but it's not. I never like want to hurt anybody when I'm saying stuff.
Right.
You know,
And just
just
just to touch on that real quick, because like a buddy of mine, like he has me in a blog, and people have asked me on the side what I feel, and I'm like, I just been really tight lip about that whole situation. But I said eventually I got to speak about it, but I said
yeah,
right now, and I can't really say anything because this organization gave us the position where we can't say anything because
Yeah,
it's
no.
all new, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
What's there to say? What's there to say? God, they're such a hot mess. I mean,
right.
actually, I could say a lot about the Eagles because I'm
Oh yeah,
so bad
you've
at
been
them.
in the trenches with them,
Well,
so
and you know what? And that's the whole thing. I'm like, I feel like this year I was extra angry about the way that the whole thing went down. And I'm like, I don't know if it's just like me taking out my like pandemic world, like crashing frustrations all on
right.
the Eagles, or if it's because like I did follow them so intently the year they won the Super Bowl. Like, and that also might be why I have like such an affection for Carson. But I watched every game in detail.
Right.
So seeing them play at their best and then witnessing the train wreck that it's become over the last 3 years,
Yeah.
it infuriates me because I'm like, we had the best football that we've ever seen in our lives only 3 years ago. And how
Yeah.
did you let it get this far? So
And
it's fun.
that
Yeah.
actually burnt me up watching like some of the videos on Twitter the other day. It was like, yeah, 3 years ago today, 4 years ago today, this happened. I'm like, and like we went to shits that fast. That's the only thing I can think of it. Like,
Well, there was no need. There was no
yeah,
need to
mm-mm,
die like that. But it's
no,
okay. It's
no,
okay.
yeah, but we both know it. It starts with that front office, but
Oh yeah, it sure does. It sure does.
definitely. So, just winding down here. I have two more questions for you.
Okay.
The first one, three life hacks you tell the world to do that create happiness amongst self.
Oh my God. 3 life hacks. Uh,
Yep.
eat the cake.
Eat the cake. Okay.
That's that's the one. Or in my case, eat the Velveeta macaroni and cheese. Um, life hack number two. The create happiness amongst yourself. God, be nice to yourself. I think
Yeah.
is really important. I'm somebody who can be really, really, really hard on myself. Um, and I realized like that's not good for you. You know what I mean? And
Right.
you're your own advocate in anything in life. So it took me a long time to learn that, like to put you first,
Oh
and
yeah.
to be nice to yourself. Um, when you're having a bad day or when you don't feel good, or even if like you mess up at work or something, like you got to be nice to yourself because the world can be not so nice.
Right.
So be nice to yourself, eat the cake. And what's my third one? God, I guess it's just like surround yourself with people
Oh yeah, that's key.
who that's so key. Surrounding yourself by good people is so important because if you're surrounded by shitty people, whether it's relationships, friendships, even sometimes family, like that's going to bring you down.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, like, we only have one life. Like, that's it.
Hmm.
Not to sound like Nas, but
Nah, nah,
not,
you're right.
not to sound like Nas, but no, like no, we really only have one life, and it's too short to be surrounded by people who aren't going to be nice to you or aren't going to respect you or aren't going to like treat you the way that you should be treated, if you're doing good things for other people. Like, yeah, that's key. Eat the cake or macaroni and cheese. Be nice to yourself. And yeah, surround yourself with good people because that your team is what makes the difference on
A-
whether you're gonna win or lose.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think those were three great life hacks. I like
Okay, good.
them.
Okay,
and
good.
and last one, what would you say is the best word that describes you and why you're here?
Like my existence on this planet.
Yeah.
Oh. Mm, what word that describes me and
I
why I'm
actually stole
here?
this question from Oprah. I was watching her Sunday
Oh,
Soul conversation, so much credit to Oprah on this one.
no, that's great. I mean, you should ask everybody all of her questions. She's
Oh
Oprah
yeah,
for a reason.
exactly.
One word that describes me. Um, I hope to just kind of, I'm like a peacemaker. Like I don't like confrontation or things. So I'm hoping that the reason I'm here is just to kind of like be like a peacemaker, like a hippie. Like maybe I'm like a hippie of some sort. I'm not though, because then I'm like, I'll throw down if I have to.
Right.
But
Let that Northeast come out you.
yeah, yeah, I'm like, don't get my long pressed up. I'm like, love to be kind, but I will cut you.
Right.
No, but you know what I mean. Like, it's but that is part of advocating for yourself.
Absolutely.
It all ties in, but no, I think I'm like just kind of a peaceful person who just I I know that the world's not all sunshine and rainbows, but I like to
Right.
think that I can contribute to it being that way, just by kind of being a peace person and being kind. And I hope that that's it. I guess peaceful is a word that would describe me.
Yeah. First word to
I
come to
don't
mind.
know.
I see humble.
A humble? Oh
yeah.
yeah.
You're very humble.
Oh yeah. Yeah. People tell me that all the time, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I guess. Again, I don't know any other way to be.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just that when somebody outside looking in is trying to evaluate you, be like, now what gives you the right to think I'm humble? Say no.
Right.
Like,
I know, like I'm peaceful, but why do you think I'm humble?
right.
No,
Nah,
all
love.
good, all good.
Love is love. Well,
Yes.
this was fun. Hey, doggy, how are
She's
you?
more, she's more famous. She's more famous than the show at this point.
Right? Wait, does your dog have an IG page too? Like some people have for their pets.
No, but I mean, everybody tells me that she should because, like, look at her,
Right.
and like she has a snaggletooth sometimes.
Oh.
There she goes. She's up like attached to my hip. I'm not. I wish I was like kidding.
Oh, that's love. Oh, bless you.
I know.
Oh, this was awesome.
Yeah, this
Uh,
was so. Thanks for having me.
man. Oh, thank
You're
you.
the best.
And to anyone who wants to follow Natalie, you can follow her on Twitter as well as Instagram, which is her name, Natalie Egenolf. And if there's anything you want to promote here on Politicin with Hawk, feel free. This is your time right now. Where can anyone follow you or catch you at?
Yeah, I'm just Natalie Egenolf everywhere. Natalie Egenolf. It's all the same everywhere. That's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And I'm also, yeah, I just launched my new podcast in December. It's called The Lipstick League, where sports and pop culture come to play. It's like my new baby. So I'm really excited about it. So give us a follow. Same thing everywhere, The Lipstick League. Big plans for that. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens with that. So that's what I'm pushing right now.
Awesome.
And the Mike Snelly Show, of course, 2 to 6, 97.5, The Fanatic, and NBC Sports Philadelphia.
Absolutely. I'm gonna be tapping into the Lipstick League podcast
Nice.
a little bit
Yeah.
more, and subscribing to the channel. So to everybody, subscribe to the Lipstick League channel, to the podcast, to the YouTube page. Follow her on Twitter and Instagram, and give her a friendly hello if you see her on the streets and stuff. She's a great.
That's
woman.
right.
Great woman.
I will say hello.
Indeed.
If I hear you.
Right. Like, huh? Say no.
I know. What'd you say? Do you know my dad? No.
Awesome. So Natalie, this was fun. I am very, very grateful to have you on the Politicin, and don't be a stranger. Feel free to come back. We could chop it up some more because I know some more things about you. You know what I mean? As far as we ain't really tap into the entertainment side of Natalie. You know what I mean?
Oh
movie
boy.
work and stuff. So we can say that for what I mean, for a future podcast.
For part 2.
Gotcha, definitely. So indeed. So this is your boy Politicin Hawk with the lovely Natalie Egenolf. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.